The quiet humans in the back, the ones no one feared. Until it was too late. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the usual chaos of 1,000 different species trying to communicate at once. Translator devices hummed, creating a symphony of overlapping voices in dozens of languages. The massive circular hall stretched for kilometers, with representatives from every corner of the galaxy seated in order of their military might and political influence. At the very center sat the Krillian Empire, their crystalline forms gleaming under the artificial stars. To their right, the hulking Vorthak warriors dominated an entire section with their intimidating presence. The graceful Selenites floated in their environmental pods, while the Mechanical Nexus Collective interfaced directly with the chamber's systems. And there, in the very back rows, almost forgotten among the lesser species, sat the human delegation. Ambassador Sarah Chen adjusted her simple black uniform and glanced at her two companions. Commander Jake Morrison sat rigid in his military dress, while Dr. Elena Vasquez quietly reviewed her datapad. They looked unremarkable compared to the exotic aliens surrounding them. No natural armor, no impressive size, no obvious technological enhancements. Just 3 ordinary humans in a galaxy full of wonders. The Zephyrian trade dispute has reached critical mass, announced Chancellor Vextar of the Krillians, his voice resonating through the chamber like breaking glass. Their expansion into the outer rim threatens established shipping lanes. The Zephyrian representative, a being that looked like a cross between a mantis and a storm cloud, clicked its mandibles aggressively. "The outer rim belongs to no one. We claim what is ours by right of exploration." Exploration. The Vorthak war chief Groktar slammed his massive fist on his podium, creating a sound like thunder. "You mean invasion? Your ships attack without warning." "Because your kind shoots first and never bothers with questions," the Zephyrian shot back. The chamber erupted into arguments. Species took sides based on old alliances and older grudges. The Selenites began their hypnotic singing, trying to calm everyone down. The Nexus Collective started broadcasting statistics about trade route efficiency. The crystalline Krillians pulsed with agitated light patterns. Through it all, the humans sat quietly in the back. Ambassador Chen had seen this same pattern dozens of times in her 5 years on the Council. Every few months, some crisis would emerge. Species would threaten each other. The powerful ones would posture and make demands. The weaker ones would choose sides or try to stay neutral. Eventually, someone would propose a military solution, which would lead to more posturing, until finally a compromise would be reached that satisfied no one but prevented immediate war. Humanity had been granted a seat on the Council 3 years ago, more as a formality than anything else. They were newcomers to galactic civilization, having only achieved faster-than-light travel 40 years earlier. Their military consisted of a few dozen ships that looked primitive compared to the massive fleets of the major powers. Their technology was adequate but unremarkable. Their population was small and confined to a handful of systems. Most species simply forgot they existed. "Perhaps," Chen said quietly, raising her hand slightly. The argument continued. No one noticed. She cleared her throat and spoke a little louder. "Perhaps there's a solution that benefits everyone." A few nearby delegates glanced her way with mild curiosity, but the major powers kept shouting at each other. Commander Morrison leaned over. "Ma'am, maybe we should just let them sort this out themselves." Chen shook her head slightly. She'd read the intelligence reports. This wasn't just another trade dispute. The Zephyrians had been expanding aggressively for months, but not randomly. Their new territories formed a specific pattern around the galaxy's edge. Dr. Vasquez had run the analysis 3 times to be sure. They were building something big. "Chancellor Vextar," Chen called out, using the full diplomatic protocols. "If I may address the Council." The crystalline being's attention focused on her with obvious annoyance. The chamber gradually quieted, as other species realized someone new was speaking. The humans wished to speak? Vextar's tone suggested he found this mildly amusing. Very well. The Council recognizes Ambassador Chen of the Terran Federation. Hundreds of alien eyes, sensors, and other sensory organs focused on the small human woman. Chen stood calmly, her hands folded behind her back. Thank you, Chancellor. I've been listening to this debate for the past 2 hours, and I think everyone is missing the real issue. Which is? Asked War Chief Groktar, his massive arms crossed skeptically. The Zephyrians aren't expanding randomly. Look at the pattern. Chen activated her personal display, projecting a holographic map of the galaxy above her head. Red dots marked the Zephyrians' new territories. They're not going after the most valuable systems or the easiest targets. They're specifically choosing locations that form a rough circle around the galaxy's outer edge. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several species quickly ran their own analysis of the pattern. So what if they are? The Zephyrian representative clicked dismissively. Strategic expansion is not a crime. No, Chen agreed, but building a containment grid is an act of war against everyone else. The chamber fell silent. Dr. Vasquez stood up beside Chen. We've analyzed the energy signatures from their new installations. They're not just military bases or mining operations. Each one contains massive gravitational manipulation devices. Impossible, declared the Nexus Collective's spokesperson, a chrome-plated humanoid whose voice sounded like data processing. Such technology does not exist. It does now, Vasquez said calmly. We have the sensor readings to prove it. If activated simultaneously, those devices could create an artificial gravity well encompassing the entire galaxy. Nothing would be able to leave. No ships, no communications, no escape. The silence stretched longer. Then everyone started talking at once. Preposterous! Where's your evidence? The humans are lying! Why should we trust their analysis? Chancellor Vextar pulsed through several color cycles before speaking. These are serious accusations, Ambassador Chen. Do you have proof beyond sensor readings that could be falsified? Chen looked around the chamber at all the species who had dismissed humanity as irrelevant for years. The ones who barely acknowledged their existence. The ones who never asked for their opinions or included them in important decisions. We have something better than proof, she said quietly. We have one of their devices. The chamber erupted again, but this time with shock rather than anger. The Zephyrian representative's mandibles clacked frantically. Impossible! Our installations are heavily defended. Commander Morrison stood up slowly, his expression completely neutral. 3 days ago, our deep space reconnaissance ship Endeavour conducted a routine survey mission in the Kepler sector. They discovered an uncharted Zephyrian installation and were fired upon without warning or provocation. In self-defense, they were forced to disable the installation and investigate. You attacked a sovereign Zephyrian facility, the mantis-like being shrieked. We defended ourselves against unprovoked aggression in unclaimed space, Morrison replied calmly. Standard galactic law permits such actions. What did you find? Asked War Chief Groktar, leaning forward with interest. Dr. Vasquez activated another display, showing technical schematics that made several species representatives gasp in recognition. A Class 7 gravitational manipulation device capable of generating artificial gravity wells across multiple light years. Powered by a dark matter reactor we've never seen before. The technology is at least 50 years ahead of anything any known species possesses. The Zephyrians didn't build this themselves, Chen added. Someone gave it to them. Someone who wants the galaxy locked down and isolated. She let that sink in for a moment before continuing. But here's what I find most interesting. The device wasn't designed by Zephyrians. The interface was clearly built for a different species entirely. Someone with manipulator appendages approximately the size and flexibility of human hands. Every eye in the chamber turned to stare at the three humans sitting in the back row. Chen smiled slightly. We didn't build it either. But we recognized the design principles. Whoever did build it studied human engineering extensively. Our ships, our computers, our manufacturing techniques. Someone has been watching us very carefully for a very long time. You're saying humans are involved in this conspiracy? Vextar's crystals flickered rapidly. No, I'm saying someone else wants everyone to think we are. When that grid activates and traps the galaxy, all the evidence will point to humanity as the architects. We'll be blamed for imprisoning every species in known space. The chamber buzzed with whispered conversations as species tried to process this information. Even if this is true, said the Selenite representative, her voice like singing crystal, what can be done? If these devices are as powerful as you claim, and if there are dozens of them, the quiet humans in the back, the ones no one feared. Until it was too late, the emergency session had been going for 18 hours straight. The Great Chamber now felt different, charged with intention that made even the most confident species fidget nervously. Ambassador Chen stood before a massive holographic display showing the galaxy, with red markers indicating confirmed Zephyrian installations and yellow markers showing suspected sites. 73 confirmed locations, Dr. Vasquez announced to the assembly. Based on our analysis of the captured device and energy signature patterns, we estimate at least 30 more installations we haven't detected yet. War Chief Groktar's massive frame shifted in his seat. My fleet commanders report they can mobilize 800 ships within 2 standard days. We can overwhelm these installations before they activate their trap. No, Chen said firmly, surprising everyone with her directness. That's exactly what they want you to do. They? Chancellor Vextar's crystalline form pulsed with curiosity. You keep referring to they and them. Who exactly do you believe is behind this? Chen walked to the center of the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. 3 days ago, I would have said I didn't know. But then something happened that changed everything. She activated her personal communicator. Commander Morrison, would you please share the Endeavor's complete mission logs with the Council? Morrison stood and interfaced with the chamber's systems. A new holographic display materialized, showing the sleek lines of a human starship approaching a massive, clearly alien structure. The UES Endeavor detected the Zephyrian installation using standard passive sensors from approximately 2 light hours away. Captain Rodriguez ordered a cautious approach to investigate the unknown structure. The display showed the ship moving closer, its sensors scanning the installation. Suddenly, energy beams lanced out from the alien structure. They opened fire without any attempt at communication, Morrison continued. Standard defensive protocols required the Endeavor to respond. What happened next made several species gasp in shock. The human ship didn't retreat or return fire immediately. Instead, it performed a series of impossible maneuvers, dodging energy beams that should have been unavoidable while closing the distance to the installation. How? Whispered the Selenite representative. Those movements violate basic physics. No ship can change direction that rapidly without killing its crew. Chen smiled grimly. That's what everyone always assumed. But humans have been preparing for space combat differently than other species. We don't rely on massive shields or overwhelming firepower. We've focused on mobility, adaptability, and endurance. The recording continued. The Endeavor reached the installation and deployed what looked like tiny pods. Boarding teams, Morrison explained. 12 humans in powered armor. The installation had over 300 Zephyrian defenders. 12 against 300? Vextar's crystals flickered with disbelief. The Zephyrians are excellent warriors in their preferred environment, Chen acknowledged. but they've never fought humans in close quarters before. We don't follow the same combat patterns as other species. The holographic display switched to internal security feeds from the installation. The council watched in stunned silence as the human boarding teams moved through the corridors like ghosts, using tactics no other species had ever seen. They coordinated without apparent communication, struck from unexpected angles, and seemed to anticipate their enemies' actions. "Impossible," growled Groktar. "No species fights like that." "Because no other species needed to," Chen replied. "Every species in this chamber evolved as either predators or prey on their homeworlds. You developed strategies based on those roles. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We don't overpower our prey or hide from predators. We exhaust them. We outlast them. We adapt faster than they can respond." The recording showed the final moments of the battle. The human teams had captured the installation's central control room with minimal casualties on either side. "But here's the interesting part," Morrison said, highlighting a section of the feed. "Look at the Zephyrian commander's reaction when he realized he was facing humans." The alien warrior had stopped fighting entirely, his mandibles clicking in what the humans had learned was a specific pattern. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. "We ran that click pattern through our xenolinguistic database. It translates roughly to, 'The prophecy children have come.'" The chamber erupted in confused murmurs. "Prophecy children?" asked the Nexus Collective representative. "This unit finds no reference to such a concept in Zephyrian culture. That's because it's not Zephyrian," Chen said. "It's much older." She activated another display, this one showing ancient star charts and archaeological data. 6 months ago, our archaeological team on Kepler Prime discovered ruins that predate any known galactic civilization by at least 50,000 years. The structures were clearly built by an advanced species, but they vanished completely. No trace of what happened to them. "Ancient ruins are not uncommon," noted the Selenite representative. "Many species have discovered evidence of predecessor civilizations." "Yes, but these ruins contain something unique. A message, a warning, and a very specific prophecy about the species that would one day save the galaxy from the same fate that befell the builders." Chen paused, looking around the chamber at all the alien faces staring at her. The prophecy described a young species that would arrive from a small, unremarkable world orbiting an average yellow star, a species that learned to survive by adapting rather than dominating, a species that others would dismiss as weak and primitive until the moment when their unique nature became the galaxy's only hope. "You're saying this ancient species predicted humanity's arrival?" Vexitar's crystals were cycling through colors rapidly. "I'm saying someone else found these ruins first. Someone who has been manipulating galactic events for decades to ensure that prophecy never comes true." Dr. Vasquez took over the presentation. "We've traced gravitational anomalies throughout the galaxy, going back 47 years. Someone has been subtly influencing the development of every major species, steering technology and politics to create the current situation. The Krillian crystal resonance technology that made your empire dominant? The gravitational control systems appeared in your research databases exactly 3 days after our first faster-than-light test flight." Vexitar's form went completely still. "The Vorthak military enhancement programs that gave your warriors their incredible strength? Those genetic templates were discovered in ancient ruins on your homeworld just after our first contact with galactic civilization." Groktar's expression darkened. "The Selenite psychic amplification networks that allow your species to coordinate across star systems? The components for those were found in a derelict ship that conveniently appeared in your territory right after humanity established its first colony." The singing crystal being's melody shifted to a minor key. "Every major technological advance, every shift in the balance of power, every discovery that shaped the current galactic order happened in response to human expansion into space. Someone has been building toward this moment for half a century. But who? Demanded Groktar. What species has that kind of power and patience? Chen walked back to her seat, but remained standing. The same species that built those ruins 50,000 years ago. The ones the prophecy said would return when the galaxy faced its greatest threat. The ones who apparently decided the threat was us. She let that sink in before continuing. They're called the Architects. They've been watching galactic civilization develop for millennia, occasionally guiding it in subtle ways. But humanity's emergence changed everything. Our unpredictable nature, our tendency to find solutions that other species miss, our refusal to accept limitations, it all scared them. So they decided to lock us all up together and remove humanity from the equation, Morrison added grimly. The containment grid isn't just a prison, Vasquez explained. Once it's activated, they can control everything that happens inside it. No new technologies, no unexpected developments, no more surprises. A stable, predictable galaxy under their guidance. With humanity blamed for the entire situation, Chen concluded. The perfect excuse to eliminate the species that threatens their control. The chamber fell silent as the implications hit everyone at once. Finally, Chancellor Vextar spoke. What you're suggesting is that an ancient, powerful species has been manipulating galactic civilization for decades, steering us toward this trap. That they fear humanity enough to imprison every species in known space just to contain you. Yes. And you expect us to believe this based on archaeological evidence, sensor readings, and the words of a captured Zephyrian? No, Chen said quietly. I expect you to believe it because 3 hours ago, they made their first direct contact in 50,000 years. She activated her communicator again. Admiral Santos, please join us. The chamber's main entrance opened, and a figure walked in that made every species in the room tense with instinctive fear. Tall, graceful, and obviously ancient, the Being. The quiet humans in the back, the ones. No one feared. Until it was too late. Designation 17 stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, and for the first time in recorded history, every species was completely silent. The Architect's presence seemed to press against everyone's minds, ancient and terrible and impossibly patient. 57,412 years ago, it began, its voice carrying the weight of eons. We faced a choice similar to the one before you now. Our galaxy had grown chaotic, unpredictable, filled with young species that refused to accept the natural order. We tried guidance. We tried subtle manipulation. Nothing worked. Ambassador Chen remained standing, her hands clasped behind her back, showing no sign of the fear that was radiating from almost every other delegate in the chamber. So you decided to start over? She said calmly. The Architect's elongated head turned toward her with interest. Perceptive. Yes, we cleansed our galaxy of the chaotic elements and began again, guiding development along more suitable paths. For 50 millennia, we achieved perfect stability. No wars, no unpredictable innovations, no species developing beyond their intended parameters. No freedom, Commander Morrison added quietly. Freedom is chaos, 17 replied. Chaos leads to suffering. We eliminated suffering. War Chief Groktar's massive form shifted uneasily. What happened to the species that refused to accept your guidance? They were retired. The Architect's tone suggested this was a perfectly reasonable solution. Their genetic patterns were preserved for study, of course. Nothing was truly lost. Dr. Vasquez activated her datapad, projecting new information above the chamber. We found records in the ancient ruins, over 400 distinct species eliminated in less than 1,000 years. Entire civilizations, billions of individuals simply erased. The chamber's atmosphere grew even more tense, if such a thing were possible. And now you want to do the same thing here, Chancellor Vextar said, his crystalline form flickering with agitation. Not at all, 17 replied, almost sounding surprised. We have learned from our previous experience. Total elimination creates unnecessary gaps in the galactic ecosystem. This time, we will simply contain the problem. The architect gestured, and the holographic display changed to show the galaxy with the containment grid fully activated. The gravitational matrix will create a closed system. Nothing enters, nothing leaves. We will monitor from outside and provide guidance as needed. Those species that adapt to the new parameters will thrive. Those that cannot, it shrugged elegantly. Natural selection will resolve the issue. You're talking about trapping trillions of sentient beings, the Selenite representative sang, her crystalline voice sharp with horror. We are talking about preserving galactic stability, 17 corrected. Your development has become dangerously unpredictable. Wars, technological advancement without wisdom, expansion beyond sustainable limits. But the final catalyst was the emergence of humanity. Every eye in the chamber turned to the three humans. They represent everything we feared when we decided to guide this galaxy's development. Unpredictability, adaptability, refusal to accept limitations. In just 40 years since achieving faster-than-light travel, they have already begun to influence other species in concerning ways. Concerning how? Chen asked. The Vorthak have begun incorporating human tactical innovations into their military doctrine. The Selenites are experimenting with human art forms that introduce chaotic elements into their perfectly ordered songs. Even the Logical Nexus Collective has started developing new protocols based on human problem-solving methods. You call that concerning, Morrison said. We call it cooperation. It is contamination, 17 stated flatly. Each change introduces more variables, more unpredictability, more potential for the system to spiral beyond control. Humanity must be contained before this contamination spreads further. And if we refuse? Groktar growled. The containment grid will activate in 72 hours regardless. The Zephyrians have served their purpose well, though they do not realize they are merely tools. Once the grid is active, we will enter the galaxy and begin the necessary adjustments to restore proper order. How many ships do you have? Asked the Nexus Collective representative, its chrome surface reflecting the chamber's lights as it calculated odds. Ships? 17 seemed amused. We are the architects. We do not require crewed vessels to travel between stars. We exist in the spaces between space, moving through dimensions your science has not yet discovered. When we choose to manifest in your reality, we bring our cities with us. The holographic display shifted again, showing massive structures that dwarfed even the largest space stations. Each one was the size of a moon, filled with technologies that looked like pure energy given form. 12 architect cities currently surround your galaxy, positioned at strategic dimensional intersections. Each one carries enough power to reshape star systems. You cannot fight us. You cannot flee from us. You can only choose how you wish to be managed. The silence stretched until Chen stepped forward. You're right about one thing, she said quietly. Humanity is unpredictable. We don't follow the same patterns as other species. We adapt instead of accepting limitations. We find solutions where others see impossibilities. Which is precisely why you must be contained. But you made one crucial mistake in your calculations. Chen smiled, and there was something in that expression that made even the ancient architect pause. You assumed we've been developing in isolation. Explain. 40 years ago, humanity achieved faster-than-light travel using principles that every other species said were impossible. We focused on quantum tunneling through folded space rather than traditional methods. Our ships don't travel through normal space at all. They slip between dimensions. 17's composure cracked slightly. That technology was theoretical only. No species has successfully implemented dimensional manipulation on that scale. No other species, Chen agreed. But humans had an advantage. We didn't know it was impossible, so we figured out how to do it anyway. Dr. Vasquez activated another display. For the past 30 years, every human ship has been mapping dimensional pathways throughout the galaxy. We've identified over 10,000 stable routes through folded space, including several that lead outside this galactic cluster entirely. Impossible. Commander Morrison, would you please contact Admiral Santos? Morrison activated his communicator. Admiral, are our people in position? A voice crackled through the chamber's speakers. All units report ready, Commander. 200 ships in dimensional space, positioned at each architect city. Another 300 ships standing by at the dimensional coordinates Dr. Vasquez provided. The architect's perfect composure shattered completely. You cannot threaten us. Our cities are protected by technologies beyond your comprehension. You're absolutely right, Chen acknowledged. We can't fight your cities. We can't even damage them with our weapons. But we can do something else. Which is, we can push them into normal space. 17 went very still. Clarify. Your cities exist in dimensional space, drawing power from the quantum vacuum and positioning themselves at strategic intersections. But dimensional intersections are unstable. Apply the right pressure in exactly the right way, and they collapse into normal space-time, where your magnificent technologies become subject to the same physical laws as everyone else, Morrison added with grim satisfaction. You would not dare. The dimensional collapse would be detected by every species in the galaxy. They would know you possess technology capable of manipulating space itself. Yes, they would, Chen agreed. And then they'd realize that the quiet humans in the back, the ones nobody feared, have actually been the most dangerous species in the galaxy all along. She looked around the chamber at all the alien faces staring at her in shock. But here's the thing about humans, 17. We don't want to be the most dangerous species. We don't want to dominate anyone. We just want to be left alone to explore, learn, and grow alongside our neighbors. However, Morrison continued, his military bearing making his words carry the weight of absolute authority, we will not allow anyone to imprison us or our friends. Not you, not anyone else, not ever. Your threats are meaningless, 17 said, but uncertainty had crept into its voice. Even if you could collapse our cities into normal space, we could rebuild them. Could you? Dr. Vasquez asked innocently. Because according to our analysis, those cities require approximately 50,000 years of accumulated dimensional energy to construct. Energy that can only be gathered from outside this galactic cluster. And in 3 hours, Chen added, we're going to activate a dimensional barrier around the entire galaxy that will prevent any energy from entering or leaving for the next 100,000 years. The architect stared at her. That would trap you as well. No, it wouldn't. We've already mapped escape routes through folded space. We can leave whenever we want. But you'd be stuck here in normal space with the rest of us, subject to the same physical laws, aging at the same rate, dependent on the same resources. In other words, Groktar said with a savage grin, you'd become just another species trying to survive in a chaotic galaxy. 17 looked around the chamber, seeing the same realization dawning in every alien face. The humans hadn't just discovered a way to fight the architects. They'd figured out how to turn the entire situation upside down. What do you want? The architect asked finally. Simple, Chen replied. Shut down the containment grid. Recall your cities. Leave this galaxy alone. Go find some other part of the universe to organize, and let us handle our own development. And if we refuse? Chen's smile was polite, diplomatic, and absolutely terrifying. Then the quiet humans in the back will show you exactly why you should have feared us from the very beginning. The architect was silent for a long moment, calculations running behind its ancient eyes. Finally, it nodded once. The containment grid will be deactivated within 6 hours. Our cities will withdraw beyond dimensional barriers within one standard day. Excellent, Chen said pleasantly. And 17, next time you want to start a conversation with the Galactic Council, try using the front door instead of a 50,000-year conspiracy. We're actually quite reasonable when people approach us directly. The architect vanished without another word, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Chancellor Vexitar was the first to speak. Ambassador Chen, exactly how long has humanity possessed dimensional manipulation technology? Since our first day in space, she replied calmly. We just never mentioned it because nobody asked. War Chief Groktar began laughing, a sound like mountains moving. The quiet humans in the back? The ones no one feared? His laughter echoed through the chamber as other species began to understand the cosmic joke they'd all missed. For 40 years, they'd dismissed humanity as primitive and harmless. The entire time, the quiet species in the back row had been the most technologically advanced civilization in the galaxy, and they'd been too polite to mention it. Ambassador Chen looked around the chamber at her fellow council members, species that would never again make the mistake of underestimating the unremarkable humans in the back. Now then, she said pleasantly, taking her seat. I believe we were discussing trade route efficiency before we were interrupted. G moved with predatory precision. Its elongated features were almost familiar, as if evolution had taken a path similar to humanity, but continued for millions more years. Greetings, children of the galaxy, the architect said, its voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in everyone's bones. I am Designation 17 of the Architect Collective. I come to offer you one final choice. Ambassador Chen looked around the chamber at all the species that had dismissed humanity as irrelevant. Now you know who we've been afraid of all along, Adi in place. There's always something that can be done, Chen said quietly, but it requires everyone to work together. And more importantly, it requires you to trust the quiet humans in the back who nobody ever bothered to fear. She sat down, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. For the first time in Galactic Council history, every species was looking to humanity for answers, and the humans were finally ready to give them.